Hi, I'm Sarah,
And I'm Alec.
and this is Sarah Offstage, where we talk about theater, events, and experiences in Southern California and beyond. We recently got to sit front row for Mexodus. We sat front row in a special section called the Get Down section, which was two small rows in front of the front row. That's normally the front row. I believe this was a sponsorship or put on by Today Tix, where I got my tickets, so they were available to me through that. Yeah, it's interesting being so close to the stage because you can see a lot of the emotions better up close, in my opinion. But also, there's like good and bad. I think there's a sweet spot for sitting close to the stage in which you do have to like move your head back and forth in order to like see everything that's going on the stage. If you're farther back, you have a better like wide view of everything. But it was an interesting experience being that close.
Yeah, there wasn't too many times where you'd have to quickly switch between looking far left and far right because, for the most part, even if the characters were separated on the stage, only one was really doing something that needed to be paid attention to.
Yeah, I think it helped that there were only two performers for this production because it was a lot easier to kind of follow whoever was in focus while being close to the stage. The show is quite literally two performers the entire time, and it is starring Nigel D. Robinson as Henry and Brian Quijada as Carlos. For part of it, they're kind of playing, a almost fictionalized version of themselves and kind of reflecting on these stories of their ancestors through the story they've created that follows Henry and Carlos. That is a composite of their research and stories that they learned about this part of history that the show covers that is not often taught in schools. So in Mexodus, we follow Henry, an enslaved man who is seeking his freedom and goes south from Texas into Mexico. Through his circumstances chasing his freedom, he meets and is saved by Carlos, a Mexican man who is a farmer. And through the circumstances of their meeting, they learn more about one another and learn that they have more in common than they have expected and have the ability to really help each other out. So the show also utilizes live looping. For those who don't know what live looping is, they have a pedal that allows them to hit it and then record either a sound or an instrument or their voice and then hit it again in order to play it back. So the reason this works for two performers is because Nigel and Brian are able to play instruments and create sound effects and use their voices to start to layer more and more elements into their music in order to live create the songs during the show. I've never seen live looping used in a production like similar to this. I found it really impressive and creative and interesting because it feels like something that would be interesting to see on stage. So I'm kind of almost surprised that no one else has utilized this before. So I'm really glad to see them incorporating it into their show.
I was trying to keep track, but I lost count. I had to guess there's about a couple dozen either instruments or just elements that they use for the live looping.
I really liked the use of like props and instruments to create sound effects even in different scenes. The set doesn't change much. It is like an impressive set in my opinion. I didn't expect it to be as elaborate as it was. It utilizes live cameras in order to give us different backgrounds and projections of the characters as they perform in different scenes. There's fog. The stage opens up a bit at one point to reveal speakers that are like lit up. I was really impressed by it, and there are many instruments that they play throughout the show. But some of my favorite moments, and I think it's just because I like audio, Foley, and things like that, is Carlos using a paper bag to create the sound of a crackling fire for a scene in which he's resting by the fire, or using the sound of a comb for I don't remember what it was.
It was like cricket
Oh,
sounds.
he used a comb to make cricket sounds, and it actually looped and sounded like cricket sounds. And I think a lot of it also goes into they have someone live mixing their audio for them, which, this person's not on stage, but that's such an important element to making sure that the sounds are like mixed correctly and give it like reverb and things like that in order to like make the sound effects work. There's thunder sound effects and lightning that, like, they create using their props. But then when I say like instruments can also be props, there's a scene later on where Carlos and Henry are working together to clear a field, and they almost use their guitars to represent shovels, and they have to work together and play their instruments together the right way to almost like link them up, synchronized at some points, to dig.
It was also in the context of the scene specifically. Carlos is a very proud person, even though he does have a lot of shame with him. And in that moment, it was Henry that was basically telling him what to do because he had more knowledge and expertise in that field. So he was the one saying, "We need to dig, and you need to dig like this." And it took a while for Carlos to kind of set aside his pride for a second and join in with the shoveling slash guitar playing before they really were in sync.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is like a only 90-minute show. There's no intermission, but I feel that they were able to capture the characters very well in such a short period of time. I felt that the characters still had complexity, even though it's kind of like, a composite overview of a scenario that could have happened, in this real historical time period. I think it's also interesting that, as I was saying before, there are moments towards the beginning of the show where it kind of feels more like we're seeing Brian and Nigel before we get to the story of Carlos and Henry. I liked that because it really shows that these two created this show with like passion, and you can tell that they really care about the story they're telling, and them giving kind of like personal anecdotes about, Nigel discussing that he had these people in his life who truly like loved and were there to support him even before he was born, and that he feels this love from the people that he's known, and he feels this love from his ancestors that like fought so hard to get to the place that he is now, where he's able to, share his art. And I thought that was really powerful, that we're seeing that like art manifest, that he's worked so hard and his ancestors have worked so hard to get him to a point in which he could share this with us. And it made the rest of the story feel even more powerful for me. Similarly with Brian telling a story of how prejudice and bias is something that we are taught. It's something that's learned. It's not even natural to us that, when he was a child, there was a situation in which his mother, not even necessarily like meaning in a bad way, but she encouraged him to have a prejudice or bias that he didn't previously have before towards another group of people. And how, when you're a kid, you latch on to the things that your parents tell you and people that you care about tell you. If they tell you, oh, well, these people are unsafe, then, that gets rooted in your mind, even though, before the situation, he didn't have those biases or didn't feel threatened. I like that it also tackles, biases and prejudices that we may have, and it tackles it in a way in which we also see similar prejudices within Henry and Carlos, these people that represent the ancestors of Nigel and Brian in their own ways, which I really liked. And I feel that even by the end of the show, I don't think that their biases are fully gone, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think especially Carlos's biases are still there and rooted, but he's able to ultimately make a good decision and a just decision to help Henry, because he realizes that Henry is not his enemy here and is not a bargaining chip for him. White colonizers are the true enemy of both men. I mean, they want to throw money at Carlos in order to give Henry's location up because he's escaped. But, you know, that's all they want to do is throw money at him without acknowledging the fact that, like, those people invaded his home and now own a piece of land that his people, like, it's deeply, like, part of their culture, you know? He says that Victoria, Texas was Victoria of Mexico. Like, it had, you know, its own culture and its people, and they were forced out of there by people who just decided that they wanted it now. I mean, I think it was special that the show was performed here in LA because we have such a rich culture here and because we have a tight knit community in Los Angeles. I think that it's going to really resonate with a lot of people who live here, which is amazing. I'm very happy that a lot of people are going to get to see this here.
I mean, even from like the performance we were at, we did get a lot of audience reactions to kind of the messaging, even in and out of the story, to each thing. So it's already hitting with people.
Yeah, I'm glad. I know this is not like the first place it was performed, but I do think that this was a great choice of a place to bring this show. This is an audience that's really going to be able to like appreciate and hopefully internalize. People can internalize like the message and the story that, you know, even amongst minority groups, right? We're not enemies, you know? Like there are biases that exist and we need to do our best to overcome those in order to understand that this is our community. We all are part of the same community and we're not our neighbor's enemy, you know? It's hard to get that message through right now, but I'm hoping that people who need to learn that message are able to learn that message, hopefully through the show. I think that Brian and Nigel just bring so much personality to the roles as well.
Yeah.
Like they're so likable and charming on stage. It's like effortless and also like not to like be dramatic, but they literally have like angelic voices. Like I was like, wow, like incredible voices, like beautiful. And I think a lot of the music is really catchy too. Like I've been like it's kind of stuck in my head now in a good way. Like I want to like re-listen to it and hear it again. Did you know about the Underground Railroad going into Mexico before this show?
No, this is my first time hearing about that.
Yeah, I hadn't either, which I think is interesting because I like have grown up in California. So I would think with us being so close to Mexico and, you know, their culture being such an influence here that this is something I would have learned about. But no,
Yeah.
unfortunately, no. But I mean, now we have Mexodus to at least get us started on learning about it. I definitely would be curious now to do some more reading about it because that's interesting. Like, it's kind of just not discussed,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Which was basically the point of the first song that they sang, saying like, you've probably never heard of this. Why don't they teach this? Why has no one heard of this kind of before?
Yeah.
And I don't remember if they said it before or after the show, mentioning just how little information there is about this aspect of it, and what little info, like actual factual info they could find, got put into the characters, but there wasn't a lot to actually work from because it's kind of just been almost lost to time.
Something I liked that I think there's a lot of joy in the show and a lot of love in the show, just through the passion put behind it clearly and the celebration of our ancestors and how they have led us here, and how it's our job to take what has been given to us, fought for us by our ancestors, and like, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do now? How are you going to pay it forward, basically? But I also like that there is some anger here in this show. I think righteous anger.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't shy away from that. I'm glad that it didn't feel like they needed to suppress that anger that they have, um, in order to make it like marketable, and things like that. Like, I think that it felt real because I think these are emotions that they felt creating this, and that a lot of people feel right now, a lot of anger. And I think this was a good way for it to get out through their art.
Yeah. And it just shows just exactly what a passion project this was for the two of them. Taking it and originating it in New York off Broadway, cultivating it into what it is now, that they're able to tour with it.
Bringing everything we've kind of talked about thematically together in the end. There's a great moment. I'm going to say spoilers for this because I think that it was really like special, and I don't want to give away too much of the show because I think it's good to go in and just like see it blind, basically. But there's a moment at the end where we as an audience get to participate in the story and in the music, and all this discussion of community and the people who have fought to bring us where we are today. And we get to be part of the backing loop for what the final song of the show as the audience, and we get to participate in that. And honestly, like, it kind of made me emotional. Like, it was really cool to be able to like hear it played back live, and then to hear them sing their final song over this community who had gathered to see this show, like in the background of like the final song. And it made me really like feel that community element, that we all are here to celebrate and to experience and to feel this story that so much heart has been put into.
It takes the moment to kind of let you sit with that at the end, because they keep mentioning throughout the show, kind of at the beginning and in the little breaks where we get to learn more about the actors and not the characters, that it's about the voice, about like actually speaking a story to someone, and how that was used for bad in the past with people's prejudices, like we talked about before, being introduced at a young age, but it can also be used for good. Being a part of that, they are essentially showing us, we've been told this now, we're involved in it now, and we can now have that and pass it on to other people as well.
Even some elements of like costuming, I feel like plays to that theme of like, taking some of our ancestors with us. But even like Brian as Carlos is wearing spurs on his Adidas, and it's really cute. But also, I like that mixing of like, yeah, he's wearing Adidas because it's comfortable probably to be on stage with them, and also like it's a modern clothing outfit, that he would want to wear. But it has like, elements of the past, right? Carlos probably had spurs, so he's wearing them, as Carlos. But also, I like that it's a mix of probably, again, this fictionalized version of himself, and also this fictionalized version of like an ancestor.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but also his pants, they weren't explicitly, but they gave me like also Adidas tracksuit pant vibes. If that's what they were going for, cool, to match the shoes. If not, like, it was still a good costume.
Definitely, but it still had the what are they called? Vaqueros?
Yeah.
Cowboy kind of vibe with the like embroidery and stuff. Like, I thought it was really, really clever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you sit front row, you may catch a little pic. You probably can't see it super well, but Carlos threw some pics at us like he was feeding chickens, and that was really funny and cute. And I didn't know what he was throwing at first, but I grabbed it with one hand. I was proud of myself for that. I thought I was gonna lose it, but It's a really cute guitar pick with the like X from Mexodus logo, and so that's something to look forward to if you can get a front row seat. I didn't know a ton going into seeing Mexodus, but I did hear some people comparing it to Hamilton. I see where the comparison comes from. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, but there's definitely like hip hop and rap used in this show, like similar to how it's used in Hamilton, and it is telling a story of historical events. I like Hamilton. It's not like my favorite show ever, but I do enjoy Hamilton. But I will say this show feels a lot more personal, which I like. Would you recommend?
Definitely.
Yes, thumbs up for me. Go see Mexodus. I really liked it. I think it's definitely worth seeing if you get the chance to. If you liked our review today and you want to see more, please give us a little like, a little thumbs up, or you can subscribe. We would really appreciate it. You can also find us on Instagram at Sarah, Sara, Offstage, where I post pictures and updates, reels about what we are seeing before the longer review is posted on YouTube. Go ahead and check out the Instagram, give us a like over there and a follow, and we'll see you for the next one.